Pledge allegiance.
Right. Pledge allegiance. Sorry.
Say pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Right. Welcome everyone to the public hearing of the local historic district. Just to explain what's going to happen this evening, we've got an agenda here which will go through explaining the whole presentation we're going through and why we're doing it, the membership of the committee, the history of the district and its significance, and the integrity of the resources that we've used to put this together, how a local historic district works, what is reviewed and what is not reviewed, and the benefits of a local historic district, and of course the description of the boundary. So before we start, we'll just do the mission statement, and then we'll move into, there'll be slides on and off throughout the whole presentation, which Lon, myself will coordinate. So over to you, Joy, for
The mission statement for our committee. The duly appointed Newbury Lower Green Local Historic District Study Committee is responsible for conducting an investigation to determine the desirability and feasibility of establishing a local historic district inclusive of the Newbury Lower Green, considering the historic significance of all buildings, structures, features, sites, or surroundings that would be included in such proposed local historic district. Our purpose and goal: to protect the historic Newbury Lower Green and the natural and built environment surrounding it for future generations to enjoy and experience the visual sense of the past history of our town. A Lower Green Local Historic District will create neighborhood stabilization and community pride, and forever provide Newbury school children with a playing field and educational opportunities. The intent of this local historic district is to maintain and improve the settings of those buildings and places, and to encourage new designs compatible with existing buildings in the district.
Thank you. Okay, right. So the this presentation is set out in a very detailed guidance through the Mass Historic Commission, of which we've been adhering to all the way through in terms of the research and everything done. So according to the Massachusetts Historic Commission, we have to have the public hearing, and this is all under Mass General Law Chapter 40C, and this is required to be held prior to the town vote, and it takes place 60 days after the preliminary report is submitted to the MHC and the Planning Board of Newbury for comments. And we've been in compliance all the way through. We've already had 3 preliminary meetings, one in Plum Island, one on the library in Byfield, and one in Newbury. So we've to garner feedback from interested parties. So and we've taken on board all the points raised. So this is the final one, and so we're here now to answer any questions relating to the whole process we've been through, from the history, the architecture, the significance, the area proposed, and the provisions of the bylaw. So this is time for everyone to give us their input as well, although they've been doing it before and we've taken all that on board when we came out with the preliminary report. Okay, so firstly, membership of the committee. Well, you've got myself, Robin Etheridge, I'm the chairman, Joy Michaud, vice chairman over there, and Lon, who is representing the Newbury Historic Commission.
Mission. It's a requirement.
As a
Somebody
requirement,
has to-
and we
somebody
have
from the district has to be there.
Elizabeth Paliga, who represents Historic New England, who couldn't unfortunately be present today. So that gives you the membership. So now we move into the whole backstory of the Lower Green and the research that we started off with. If I can say, can you hold any questions to the end? We just go through the whole thing first. I'm sure you'll have several, but we'll take notes and we'll discuss afterwards. Is that all right?
Ready?
Okay, Lon.
Okay.
So,
First, or second slide. So I don't read as well as Joy does, but I'm going to take a shot at it. So kind of this is a background. Newbury's Lower Green is one of the few remaining examples of historic American colonial landscapes with cohesive 18th century architecture. So the way the green and the buildings around it look are the important part. That's what we're concerned about. Historically, the Lower Green, with its proximity, has been an important native settlement, common land of the 17th century European colonists, the site of the first meeting house and burial ground, a training ground for early American soldiers, a neighborhood school, and in modern times, an open space and playing field for local children. And they were out there today. Yet this important historic community resource is unprotected from pressure of future major development. The Lower Green Local Historic District Study Committee seeks to gauge community interest in establishing the local historic district to add a layer of protection to this important cultural asset by limiting incongruous construction to the built environment surrounding the Lower Green. Next slide. Okay, so we're celebrating the United States 250th anniversary, right? Okay, we're also celebrating the 391st anniversary of the Lower Green. So there's a reason. I mean, there's a reason for us to be concerned about trying to protect this. 391 years. Next slide. Oh, this is. Oh, I'm sorry. Go back. And you can see the green on this. The green is the only difference between the green, the way it's drawn in this from 1635. This was put together by Daniel Dole in 1828, based on other drawings and things that were available at the time. But you see the schoolhouse. I was going to bring my pointer. I forgot. You see the schoolhouse on the green, or the house on the green, the common house. On the left, there's the West Gully. And on the right, further over, past the houses there, is the East Gully. Those two landmarks are still there. Basically, the gully on the west, on the left, is right along where the stone wall is for the green. The difference is that back then the green went all the way down to the water, and now we have 3 properties down there, including the boat launch and so on. So this is the condition that what it looked like then. The next slide. So there were some changes. By the 1800s, all the early buildings, the lots have been sold off, combined. Ownership changed. There were some of the major homesteads were in the land surrounding the green. This is a picture below. We don't know exactly when it is, but we know it was after 1877 because the schoolhouse is there. If you look on the upper left, that's the schoolhouse that was on the site prior to the one that's there now. So that goes even further back in history. And I think Robin's going to have a few comments on schoolhouses and how unique this is, this asset that we have. And if you look on the bottom again, this is late 1800s. Almost all, except for my barn, the other buildings that are all there are still there. The only difference is the land behind them has been developed. So all the farmland is turned into more or less homes, except for set-aside property, which we can't really see here, which is Old Town Hill and so on. Next slide. So what happened? In 2010, And this is the Bushy, or the Newman Farm, which later became it was called the Francis Bushy Homestead, was sold off. And this is a fairly famous painting on the left of the Bushy Barn. And what happened is all the buildings, there were 3 barns there were 2 houses, there were all kinds of other outbuildings, all of that was taken down. So that was an asset, I think, that was lost, historic asset. And so next slide, that occurred, and a grassroots group got together, neighborhoods, people in the area, and said we need to do something to see if we can protect this property. So we got together and put an application in to Preservation Mass, and see if they would be willing to list it on their endangered properties list. And these are support letters that came in. These are ones that came from different departments from the town of Newbury. Next slide. Or did you already?
Again.
And this, I can't read from here, but these are all these different historic groups and property managers put in letters of recommendation. Next one. And lo and behold, we were selected. So in 2010, the Lower Green and its surroundings were listed on Massachusetts Most Endangered Historic Resources list. And next. So what was the next step? Unfortunately, the Bushy property was being developed at that time. So another group of residents living around the green got together, and we basically started raising money. We called it Save the Lower Green, to try and save this piece of property right in front of you, there in front of us here, which is the western boundary of the green, so that we wouldn't have swimming pools, and because it would have been the backyards of a housing development. Next slide, please. And we were trying to save the property on this. You see that white line going through that area? The one on the lower left, the piece on that lower left was up for grabs. And you can see what happened to the other part of the Bushy estate. It's already was being developed. So we were able to purchase this, raise $500,000 in 13 months, and working with Essex County Greenbelt, we were able to save that piece of property, so that for all of time, save it so that it'll be a buffer between any other development that might come in and the Lower Green itself. Next. So what's the next? It's the next thing that hit us. In 2019, the Plummer homestead became available. It was purchased by a developer, and that we basically had the potential of losing that. Fortunately, the home that was bought in the front, the person that purchased that restored it and preserved it. The barn ended up on a different piece of property, but that's also being preserved. Next. Okay, so our next step was, okay, how can we need to do more to protect this? And the only protection you can really get is to make a local historic district out of it. It's the only thing that keeps development from actually occurring. It actually has some teeth, saying you can't do that here. And we got support for preserving this from Essex Heritage Commission. I'm not going to read this. The next, please. We got it from New England, Historic New England, a letter of recommendation. And then the trustees of reservations sent us one, and I do want to read that one. And that's available up here, by the way. We have copies of that if you're interested. And this one I'm going to read. This is from the trustees of reservations who have asked or agreed to put their property at Old Town Hill into this local historic district. And they write, in deep respect for the hard work ahead and the dedication of members of the study committee, we at the trustees are ready in support of this effort. The cultural landscape of the Lower Green, with its mix of historic buildings, agricultural fields, natural areas, creates a unique heritage area that deserves the research and potential recognition of its preservation in a local historic district. Rather than preserving this landscape like a fly in amber, the historic district will help ensure sensitive change in the area, but change that respects and reinforces the cultural and historic qualities that have shaped this region for centuries. So we're not trying to stop development. We're saying, if my house burns down and you buy the property from me because I threw my hands up and walked away, that you can't put a 3-story stucco house in there with palm trees. It's not consistent. And that's really what we're after. So that's all I always say that analogy, because when I lived in Seattle, someone did that to me. They put up, they came up from California and they had palm trees. Anyway, next please. And this is a copy of the letter, like I said, we have available the entire letter from the lower, from the trustees of reservations. So the history, I guess, this is, I'm going to hand this back to Robin now. The history of the area is that all these things have been grassroots efforts. And it doesn't really cost anything to do it. Having a local historic district, the local historic committee, historic district committee will be volunteers. And the volunteers are appointed by the select board. And they serve, and they'll rotate in and out. There are some requirements. We need somebody that has to live in the area. Someone on the committee has to be from the historic district. There's several requirements. And I see I'm on the Newbury Historic Commission, and I see we're a quorum here, so don't talk. Anyway, everybody has volunteered that if we have any trouble finding the people to serve on this commission, that the historic commission members will move over directly and serve on it, and then rotate us out over time.
May I clarify a point?
Yeah.
So what Lon is talking about is once, hopefully, please, this passes, the committee will oversee the historic district. That's, yeah.
It's a bylaw, basically,
Yeah.
it's a bylaw, just like the demolition delay bylaw that the historic commission runs.
I just said that the committee is appointed by the select
Right.
board.
Yes,
That's the,
yes.
and that it's in their
Yeah,
hands too.
and if we don't get enough hands,
Right.
the historic commission is volunteered to help. So to make sure that we can get the 5 that are required. And that's all I have for the background, except that, like I said, it's really at no cost. I was gonna have my last slide being a $ with a knot through it. But this is really, and every property that's involved in this, is included in this, has said, yes, we wanna be in it, or have even come to us and said, include us in it. So, that's
Okay,
it.
right. So there you have the current members of the committee, which I've already mentioned. So getting back to the timeline, how it got started, it all started back in August 2022 when we had a petition where we got 140 signatures over a few days from Newbury residents showing support.
Newbury, Byfield, and Plum Island.
Newbury, yes, the
So
whole.
Old Town, Byfield, and Plum Island.
And so with that, a presentation was duly made to the select board, who then approved setting up the study committee. And in fact, the study committee is within the select board's power to set up. They've set it up, and then we went through, got the guidelines from Massachusetts Historic Commission, and the process then started. By the way, the Massachusetts Historic Commission have, and you'll see a couple of slides on, already 150 historic districts in the state. And you can see Newbury at the top there, there aren't any, because the upper green is actually not a historic district, it's on a historic register. So, and they've set out very detailed instructions on how to get this designation. And it involves a detailed study showing the relevance of the area, designated area from both historical, cultural, and architectural. So then what happens then, the select board approves the committee, which we did. and it's job of the committee then conduct a survey of the area, discuss with property owners, engage with the public, such as meetings we've had and this meeting. Then the Massachusetts Historic Commission will either endorse the plan or not. They have come back, and we have a letter here showing their full endorsement. I think you can move on a couple of slides just to.
Okay, so this one I read, yeah.
Yeah.
This is
So
the process.
that shows the timeline, and we are in the lower black box there, public hearing. So after we've had this meeting, collected all the information, anything else arising from that, we then do a final report. This one is, as it says on the top, preliminary. Final report will then, make whatever other comments need to be made from any of the interested parties, be they the planning board or the Mass Historic Commission. It then goes to a warrant to present to the town meeting and a vote. The vote has to be 2/3 to pass. After that, as you can see, it goes to the Attorney General of the state for review and final acceptance. After that, then, as we'd already discussed, and it comes back, a separate Massachusetts, Newbury Historical Commission for the Lower Green is established, which we'll cover later. So that sort of goes through the whole process as to where we are. So I think that
You may have.
there's one thing you mentioned on the schoolhouse, just as it came up, you mentioned it. In our survey, which I don't think was in the report, I can't remember. Anyway, which is just a fact that you should be aware, as it's the sort of central point of the Green, was a survey done by Forbes magazine, in fact, that in 1919 there were 190,000 single-room schoolhouses like that in the United States, according to their records. Today, right now, they have counted 400 left intact as a single-room schoolhouse, unaltered, which is quite amazing when you think of it. There's that many left. They've either been pulled down or been modernised or reused for something else. But
And many of them aren't on the same site.
Yeah,
They've been moved
they get
somewhere
moved.
to preserve them.
So it is quite an achievement that not only has it been, it's actually in pretty good condition now, thanks to work done on it. So so that in itself is an achievement, and obviously making this into a historic district secures its personal, so that it's intact. On the other facts, as you'll see going through the report, there are 16 buildings in the Green, in the area, notable buildings, I'd say. There are a lot more. One of them is Dole Little House, built in 1715, owned by Historic New England. The Jackman Willett House is actually built in 1683, although it has been moved, owned by the sons and daughters of the first settlers. So it's two first period houses, which is pretty extraordinary. And there is another building which was salvaged from a 1728 building from a fire, which is the old Seddon Tavern. So, and all these buildings, apart from schoolhouse, are currently occupied as well. So we've ensured that all the owners are aware of all the processes we've been involved. So now I think cover that is
That's your,
The survey?
open to
Or-
we've done.
oh yeah
survey?
yes, the rest of the timeline.
Oh, excuse
Just
me.
to
Survey and stuff.
the
I have the power.
study report man completed, informal sessions, we covered that. We then conducted a citizen survey to we prepared a preliminary boundary map. There has been adjustments on it, but you'll see the results of the survey on the next slide, which shows that from responders, be they obviously a large portion of the responders come from the Old Town area, a little less from Plum Island and Byfield, which is very obvious, but and the key one at the end is overwhelming majority felt that the preservation was important. Okay, and neighbourhood 2 results. Do you know what a historic district is? We'll cover that in a minute because there's quite a lot there. Whilst most people know, there are some salient points that need to be raised. And finally, we asked whether it would be voted for at a town meeting, and fairly overwhelmingly was positive. Okay, so maps. There was a slight change to the one handed out, and that relates to a colonial grave site in the Evergreen grave area there, which had to be taken out. So in the preliminary report that you have, hand these out. In the preliminary report you have an adjustment was made. It's been passed on to the Massachusetts Historic Commission, and they've not come back with any comments. So we've taken it as they've quite happy with it. And what it does is it takes the colonial part of the graveyard there, which is walled in and has really old graves in it, and it differentiates from the current grave site, which is still a working site today. Colonial grave sites in the state of Massachusetts have particular rules relevant to them on how they're looked after and kept. So it's subject to a lot of other things apart from what this will have. And we clearly felt that as this is an ongoing graveyard cemetery, you want to not impinge with whatever work they're doing.
So what we were told by one of the board members of the Evergreen Cemetery is that this old part is called the Dole Pasture Cemetery, right?
New maps.
The Dole Pasture. So we're going to include that within the boundaries.
I think that Richard Dole donated that property for the cemetery. And the First Settlers Cemetery is also included up on High Road.
First Settlers is up here.
I'll take one for today. Yes, thanks.
Okay, so
It's interesting that it continued all the way to the point.
copy of the
Because this is that original.
okay, right.
That's her.
So
Moved it.
Next slide.
next slide is
This timeline continue.
yes. So where are we at the moment? Last year we drafted the bylaws, which are in the report. Again, all these are on in the report and also on the website. So preliminary report was then sent off to Massachusetts Historic Commission, approved, and got see confirming that.
Enthusiastically approved.
Enthusiastically
Yeah.
approved, thank you, yeah. And
Did I go
then
too quickly?
we have the,
Kind of an outline
yes,
for the-
that's
for the- bylaw.
it has to be set up under chapter 66, which you'll see there.
Go to the next one, it
Next
shows the outline, yeah.
So that's the descriptions in the report you have there. We can discuss them in detail in a minute. And then, so what happens now? Holding public hearing, which is today what we're doing now, preparing the study report, submitted with bylaws for the town meeting for approval. And then, as I said before, it goes to the Attorney General's office and finally submitted to the Mass Historic Commission. Okay, right, so now have we opened the floor for any comments so far, all of which will be noted and recorded and put in the final report as necessary.
Any questions?
I have questions.
Yes.
Would you like me to just stand up here, or can I just sit and ask
I don't
questions
see a
one at a
mic.
time? What's the appropriate
You're not, if you could stand there, there should be
stand
a
there?
mic. Huh? Oh, that's right, it'll be, you,
Will I be blocking? Right, how about I just stand? I'll just stand right here. Is that okay?
Whatever makes you comfortable.
yeah, whatever,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, I'm Lori Clark, I live at 273 High Road. Full disclosure, the property is currently included in the historic district, so the intention is to join. But I do have some questions, but first, let me say thank you for the incredible amount of work that you guys have done so far over the past 2 years. This is amazing to even get us to this point.
Thank you.
So the questions I have are just general questions. It's not going to change my inclusion, but I just for clarity and for confirmation about some of the things as I read through the study report. I will just list off one at a time, and I don't want to take up all the time, but you let me know at what point you've had enough. So
You go ahead.
reading through, and I'm just gonna ask my questions as I went through the report to just get some clarity on there. You had talked about the types of people that would be on the commission, and some that would be local residents, historic commission. I noticed that you had suggested that one of the committee members would be part of the Board of Realtors. Could you explain a little bit more about that reasoning and what that person would bring to the commission in terms of their input and review?
That's a Massachusetts Historic Commission, not requirement, but suggestion.
Suggestion.
So it's a suggestion, not a
And
requirement.
it's a suggestion to the select board when they're considering populating the committee.
It's the select board who have the final decision of who goes on it. So, but within in the discussion in the MHC, in their guidelines, they have suggested various categories of people, and they mention Board of Realtors. They mention historic commissions, things like that, so.
Did they give a reasoning for why they felt a realtor needed to be on the commission and provide their
Do they?
input and approval?
Okay, I don't think they
They
do.
also suggested a lawyer.
I was gonna say,
which-
there's a lawyer.
I
Yeah,
mean,
there's a
that makes
lawyer.
sense, the
Yeah,
historic
yeah,
commission
yeah,
makes sense,
yeah.
and a historic architect makes sense, a resident makes sense to me. A realtor didn't quite, but I understand where you're coming from, I just wasn't sure what the reasoning. Your reasoning makes sense of why you put it there. I can argue one way or the other, I won't, that answers the question, so I'll move on.
That argument you would probably take to the select board when they're setting it up.
Yeah, and it's not a requirement, it's just, like, they've also suggested a local resident, and they have various categories.
What's that?
Okay.
I mean, I think it narrows down the choice for the select board to look at, I guess, so,
Thank you.
anyway, yes.
All right, second question. One of the duties of the commission that's listed in the report is to arrange for preparation and installation of markers where appropriate. What type of markers are you considering? Or what type of markers is the commission expecting to recommend for installation? And then who would cover the cost of those markers?
So we do have markers that are included that are already there. So we have one marking the Francis Plummer Tavern, which is kind of near your neck of the woods. There's one for the landing place of the first settlers. There's a third one by, I believe it's by your house, Robin. But you're talking about to mark the area as, to designate it as a local historic district.
So when you suggest markers, you're talking about a general signage that would be displayed?
Like entering entering local historic
Okay.
district,
And-
exiting, you
And
know.
recall, we're the study committee.
Right,
Yeah,
of
we're
course.
not on the
Yeah,
local
right.
historic district committee.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that something the town would then cover as part of that? Would that be a fundraising effort? Would that be the members of the,
As a
Mission.
local historic district, we can go for grants.
I see,
So,
great,
Yes, we can.
I mean, in
right.
fact, that's the cemeteries and other things in the area
Yep.
can also go for grants.
Also, the Essex National Historic Commission, they put up signage. I've noticed, they have kind of small brown signs. I've seen them around the area. One is in West Newbury for their training green, and, you know, it's a designation. But if and when, you know, hopefully this passes at town meeting, grants will be available for us to, or for, you know, the commission to go for the town to go for.
great, thank you, okay.
I mean, I presume you're talking about a similar sign that's out on the little island in front of yours. I mean,
There is that,
There is that
right,
one there.
the,
quite frankly, I don't think we want too many, you know, we've got
Yeah.
them on the place, just one to record,
Great.
maybe.
Raise your hand when you're putting the committee together.
yes,
Backlit LED light,
that's
yeah.
right, that's right, in my bedroom window at night, yes.
Okay, and next,
Okay, the next one would be, I was reading about signage and other things, buildings and stuff. Just a general question, let's say being an agricultural community, you guys know I do a lot of gardening, have a lot there. If we, at some point in the future, wanted to put up some sort of seasonal roadside food stand to sell local eggs or produce, not that we're there at that point, would that be allowed or would require approval by the commission?
It would
Where
be
does that
allowed
fall?
because it would be a temporary.
I was gonna say it's not
Yeah,
permanent.
yeah,
If
it would be
if you're gonna
temporary.
build a building there, that's be different.
Okay,
It's
great,
just like we could have garage sales, or what do you call it, sidewalk sales,
okay.
Yard sales.
yard sales, thank you. We have sidewalks.
We called them garages where I grew up, and there's not a lot of garages here, so.
yeah, it does actually cover temporary sign structures, not subject to the conditions.
Okay,
Yeah, there is, I think they cover that somewhere in there, yeah.
well, it says temporary signs, but I'm
Signs,
talking about
signs or
a structure,
like a-
Or
kind of
structure.
putting,
Yeah.
it wouldn't
Or-
really be
Like what
just a
Carol
sign.
has, yeah,
Okay,
down the street, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
okay, great. Next one would be, so are barns listed in that property index?
Yes.
As part of the property? Does that mean that it's included in the restrictions, even though it's not directly visible from the lower green?
anything.
Or the road.
or the
Visible
road.
from the road,
Basically,
The, which road?
High Road.
So when we first started to join, I was told the barn would not be because it's back from the lower
It is,
green.
yours is back, yeah.
Yes.
But
Mine,
it's
for
still
example, is
visible
right there.
from High Road, right? So I'm curious because does that mean, you know, we've done phase one of the barn, we'll be going through probably some multiple iterations of work on the structure. Does that mean that when we do the adjustments in the future, 5, 10, 15 years, however long it takes us to sort of get where we're going, will we need to go through every phase to get approval through the committee to make adjustments on our barn, our structure, if we wanted to do anything with the barn?
I would contend it's set back because it's behind the main house.
Okay, so barn's not
So-
included in that, okay. Even though you
I
can
would-
see the full barn from Cottage Road, even
And from
though
Cottage,
it's, you know, in
yes.
the winter time,
Only when the trees are
quite visible, right? So I'm just curious, where does it fall? Is it just the front of the house
The-
facade? Is it that structure? Cause it is technically listed in
right.
the index. It clearly
Yes.
shows that that barn is included as a structure.
So,
I'm
I
just
mean, are
trying to
you planning
understand-
on something that would be?
It doesn't matter what I'm planning now,
Okay.
right? I
Doesn't
mean, let's
matter.
say my
Okay,
kids are there and
just
they
for
take over the
future
house in
reference.
15
Okay.
years. I mean, we are planning to make adjustments.
Right.
Maybe we add more windows.
Yeah.
Maybe we add a cupola. Maybe we add an ADU at some point that kind of joins in some way. my question is, if we were to go through that process, do I need to fill out an application for approval through the commission for each of those different instances?
You would need to have a building permit to
Right,
do
that,
this.
that's understandable.
That's where this would come in. But you were saying every time you make a change, I would guess, again, I'm not on the committee, but I would guess that you would have your final drawing, here's what we're gonna do. And you would get the final drawing approved, and then you would go through the process.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
can
mean,
see
certainly
where-
adding a
I
cupola
can-
would be fine.
But I completely
no.
understand where you're coming from,
Yeah.
but also the interpretation, because it is relatively open for the interpretation by the Historic Commission. Exactly, what is clearly visible from the road or not, and this is behind the house. So you could say it's partially obstructed. Do you know?
but who knows
So-
what the
but you
commission's
see,
going to
we're
say
not-
in the future?
Yes, I know, it is, it's an interesting, I think we might have to consult with MHC on that, just exactly how the interpretation of it, because there's a lot of latitude for the local commission to, because they're looking at the view from the road, right?
Right.
So I don't know if I can't give for a study committee, we can't give a clear answer because we're not on the committee with the proposal in front of us.
Again,
But
but the purpose of the thing is, of this local historic district, is to preserve the architectural integrity. So short of the 3-story stucco house, it's, we know you're gonna do the right thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's like Steve with his barn, right?
Yes.
I mean, come on.
So-
Talk about,
But I
Doing a
I
great
get your
job.
point, is the interpretation, you
point.
don't want the interpretation
Yeah.
changed.
To be so restrictive.
Yeah.
And we're trying to make it so that it's not highly restrictive.
Right.
We live in the area, we all live in the area, and we understand that modern people live in antique homes. And that, things need to be flexible, but it's the integrity and the congruity of the area that we're looking at.
I was looking
And
for
that's fully understandable, but as you guys said, you are not the commission either, right? So
he's-
you wouldn't make those.
No, it's an excellent point, Lynn. Yeah.
Okay, next one, with those anticipated filing fees, is that separate from, say, the building permits? I noticed on there when it talks about having to, when you file an application, there'll be a fee that's associated with that, you don't know what the fee is yet. So does that mean anytime we were to make a change, we then have to file an additional fee as part of that process to have it reviewed? And do you guys have an idea of what those expected fees might be?
we missed something.
Which article is this?
That would be,
There's no fee with
There's
the
no
demolition
fee.
delay bylaw, right?
well, it's generic about application fees in here, and that we would have to submit
Probably
the
the standard
application fees,
language.
so I was just curious. 6612, schedule of fees, a filing fee shall be included with all applications for certificates.
are.
Said fees shall be set and may be amended from time to time by the select board. Is that, I guess my question is that, for those of us that would be in the district, is that an additional fee than what we would be doing already for building permits or other things? Or is that included with the building permits that we would go through and review to get? And so that's just a clarifying question there.
I would assume it's gonna be part of it, but
Part of the-
I
part of
understand
the
what you're
building.
asking, yeah.
A good question.
Because it's
We'll get,
like if you get a demolition permit, right? The fact that the historic commission reviews that, on certain cases, there's no fee
Okay.
applied to it. But, we say yes and hand a piece of paper back, or no, and
Okay, so you're not expecting additional fees on top of
No.
what we would normally file as
No,
part of our
but
permits that we would go through the town.
this is a good point that
We-
we
we
need
could-
to clarify
we-
that in the
we-
proposal, because that's not our intent to, get money out of this, I mean, that,
But we'll find out. because
yeah,
we
we'll
can't
find
give
out,
an
but,
answer.
yeah, but that's excellent.
excellent question, yep.
And last question, promise it's gonna go really quick.
That's fine.
When we were talking or looking through, it was talking about structures, landscaping is fine. It brought up fences. And this goes back to the question I might have in terms of our property of what's considered viewable or part of the review process. If you go down Cottage, you can pretty much see the entirety of our property line going all the way down. Is that considered part of the view? Would that hinder us from, say, putting up a privacy fence in a certain position or change what we do along that? Or is it really just the front of the house? Because it wasn't very clear to me.
It's the
Based on what you have.
approaches, it's the approaches, so from High Road, Cottage Road is, it's not a throughway. You know, like Newman Road and High Road, those are throughways, but Cottage Road isn't a throughway.
It's actually dead end,
It's, yeah,
supposedly.
you know.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at the Jackman Willett house,
Right,
right?
right.
A portion of our, a
Right.
significant portion of our property is right behind
Right.
that. So does us putting up a fence or some sort of visual barrier impact that view? And is that impacted here, just from the way the property is outlined? So I guess that's my question is, from here, I was unclear when it was talking about fences or other structures. I just wanted to be clear, is it really just the facade or the front of the facade of the house? Or is it any portion of the property that might be contained within that district?
Got it, good, yep, good question, we did
Okay,
get back on that one.
And
That's
and again,
exactly
and
what-
if I was on the commission, and you wanted to put a 9-foot fence in front of your house on the road, I'd say no.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to put in something to put some privacy in the backyard, I'd say yes.
Right.
Because I'm
And on the
relatively
side.
reasonable.
And on the side.
It's a,
You
yeah,
know,
but
Yes.
it's the approaches
That's
that
right.
we're
It's the-
looking at,
Yeah.
the Newman Road, High Road, not Cottage Road, as that's not a throughway.
right, that's what I think,
Yeah.
but we just get clarification on that.
Yes, we'll get, yeah.
great.
But that's a good question, yeah.
Excellent, thank you, Lori, yeah.
And
Excellent.
Cottage Road is already an oddity because it's highly developed on one side and it's
Not
1800s on the other side.
So that concludes my questions. Again, thank you
Thank
guys
you.
so much for your effort. Obviously, I took the time to read through the
Thank
report.
you.
I really appreciate all of the work that you've done to put all of this together, include all of the historical significance. I actually learned a lot going through it. So,
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate your comments very much, very much.
We'll
Okay.
include them in the final report.
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
we'll get back to you separately on the specific
Okay,
ones.
thank you.
So I have like a couple points of order, you know, in terms of what is the difference between a national historic register and a local historic district. So the National Register is a listing of buildings, structures, objects, and sites significant in the nation's history that are worthy of preservation. It is a federal designation administered by the Secretary of the Interior and provides format recognition and very limited protection. So that's at the federal level. It really has no teeth. So for example, people say, well, the Upper Green is a local historic district. It's not. It is a federally designated, it's on the National Historic Register, but there really is no, there are no teeth there. So in no way does it limit the owner's use of the property or limits the restrictions or conditions or changes unless there is federal or state involvement. So that's the National Register. A local historic district, on the other hand, is established locally through a town meeting or city council vote. It provides a regulatory review process for all changes to the exterior architectural features visible from a public way. So what we need to do is to clarify the public way.
Yeah.
And it was my understanding, which was an excellent point,
Yeah.
it was my understanding that it was a thoroughfare.
Right,
High Road, Newman Road, not Cottage.
right.
Okay.
That was my-
how-
We'll get back to
Yeah. How the local historic district works. The select board appoints the Lower Green Historic District Commission. I'm looking at you, Bill. 5 members, 1 for 1 year, 2 for 2 years, 2 for 3 years. This sounds like a bet. Comprising, so 1 from the local historic society, 1 from the Board of Realtors, if available. Sometimes people don't apply for it. And 1 property owner from the local, within the local historic district. So for example, our committee that we formed, the select board was looking for a realtor, a lawyer, and no one came forward, so we moved ahead with the people who
Historic.
did volunteer. And I'm betting that it will be the same. These are not requirements, they're suggestions. The advantages of a local historic district, the exterior, exterior new construction and or renovation that is respectful of the existing community and its architecture. So real estate agents use historic district status as a marketing tool, as buyers are assured that the aspects are protected over time. And older buildings provide a link with our past, and the stories that they tell are a record of earlier times. Town-owned properties and nonprofit-owned properties may be eligible for state grants. Something that I've felt very deeply in this whole 4-year process that we've been through is that it's very important to make time visible and to protect this special area, because how many districts, how many places, how many historic landscapes have we lost due to, say, insensitive development or development that maybe hasn't respected the uniqueness of the area. So we really, this will make time visible to everyone. And yes, it's a Newbury Byfield, an Old Town Byfield and Plum Island issue, but it's also anyone driving down 1A, which is already designated as a scenic highway, a scenic byway. People, what we have on the cover of our report is a quote from H.P. Lovecraft, The Shadow over Innsmouth, written in 1931, where he wrote, "Passing the Lower Green and Parker River and finally emerging into a long, monotonous stretch of open shore country." That was 100 years ago, and we kind of still have that. Let's hold on to something that's so unique that way. Any more questions? I mean, I can go on forever.
So could we.
Yeah, go ahead, Russ.
Yes.
Yep,
This is just a general question.
yep.
Related to historic districts, just in general. How do the bylaws intersect with state laws? For instance, in the case of solar, in the case of agriculture. If you have a minimum parcel of land, the state says you can, do X, Y, and Z. What if somebody wants to put up a Morton building as a barn? General questions. Solar. I
Solar.
believe solar is a state law. I read something about that in the rules.
Yeah,
Okay, do you want to take the solar?
okay, so,
Good question.
yeah. So, we have an energy efficient FAQ, frequently asked questions. Can I put solar on my house or on my property? So Massachusetts state law states that local historic districts cannot prohibit the installation of solar panels. However, they can restrict where they can be located. Putting solar panels on the front-facing roof slope of an old house has a much bigger impact than putting them on the rear roof slope, or the roof of an L garage, barn, or even installing a ground-mounted solar array. Any local historic district around Newbury's Lower Green would encourage the use of alternate energies while minimizing their visual impacts, because after all, if there isn't any Lower Green neighborhood to protect due to climate change, then what's the point? Also, something that was brought up is, in terms of like a green building, we all talk about, climate change and green buildings, and the greenest building is the one that's already built. Russ, did that address sort of, or,
But what if the front of the house is south-facing,
Yes.
so it would be,
like Robin's?
Yeah,
yeah,
yes, we've covered that. I think it's quite interesting that,
Yeah, he wouldn't have the home.
these issues are, well, let's just say the Massachusetts Historic Commission have moved forward in terms of construction types, solar panels and things like that, and they're recognising all these changes. For example, a classic example is the roof of the schoolhouse is actually made of a composite material. It's not shingles, but to anyone looking at it today, they couldn't tell the difference, even if you're at 5 feet from it. So 50 years ago, they wouldn't have agreed that. You had to put it up in the shingles, whatever. Secondly, and the other one which we found as we're looking at it is we need to replace our gutters, and they're now, or might do, and we have cedar gutters carved out of very long pieces of timber, which is pretty impossible to get the cost of cedar and everything else to make. There are now fiberglass reproductions that pretty well mirror wood so well, and they have been approved on historic New England buildings, because it's all about what the eye and deceiving the eye is about. As long as it looks good and a care has been taken to make it look good, rather than just doing something cheap because it's available. So they've moved ahead with both construction materials and things like that. The solar panels one is one that has been debated a lot, and they've come out with it. And I agree that south-facing roofs could be an issue that warrants discussion if we want to do it. We're prepared to listen to it. My guess is over time, the Massachusetts Commission, because of the movement in that direction, will allow it. It depends on how. There are sort of other ways of doing it, which won't go to making the whole roof tiles using solar panels. That technology is there, so it will look like a tiled roof or something, slate roof like ours is, but it will be solar panels.
so for example, if Massachusetts is not prohibiting them,
Right.
it would be to the discretion of the newly formed commission
Yes.
to decide if it's allowed, correct? Am I,
Yes, but they'll be looking for guidance on
Okay,
technical
I
things
see,
like that
okay.
from.
Okay.
Just like we did when we wrote this.
okay,
Yeah. So, but yeah, good question, and indeed this one's come up before
it has, yeah.
from various people.
Yeah.
So, but okay, anyone else with anything else?
Sure, no.
Kenny,
Steve
yeah.
Kenny, 280 High Road. I want to add my thanks also for the commission's work, the committee over so many years. Just procedural questions. Do you know at this point if the commission is a warrant for this current year's annual town meeting?
It is.
We will have an opportunity to
is,
vote. Great,
yeah.
great, and people will.
Just so you'll know, it's Article 24 on the warrant.
Can't we move that up to one?
Pay attention.
That was my second.
No, can't we move that up
Can we
though?
move it
The
up?
warrant is printed in.
Yeah. So just a related question, and because the 6 to 2/3 vote I know is a very high bar also. and I'm hopeful it passes, but if in the case it doesn't, can it be put right back on for the following year's annual town meeting? It's not a one and done opportunity, I'm
Yes,
guessing?
this is yes.
The answer is yes, okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you.
Yeah,
For the voting, is that 2/3 of the people that are there voting at
Yes,
that time?
2/3
So
of the
if-
quorum,
It's
yeah.
still- it's
So
the
if a
only-
third of the people left, the 2/3 that are there would then, you would
Yes.
need 2/3 of the 2/3.
Right, right.
Okay.
I was gonna say, as it doesn't involve the town shelling out any money, I would have thought it would have been further up the list.
They have
That's
a,
just my,
they have a prescribed sequence there,
Ah.
that financial transactions, citizen petitions, and then bylaw changes and zoning changes, it's,
How many items are there?
24.
That's a good question, I think 26 or 27 perhaps.
Well, we're at the end.
It's too
Okay.
bad.
Well, they don't all have to be long. They're just
The
articles.
meetings don't have to be, but they usually
At
are.
the end of the hardliners. That's what I'm-
okay, so, any more questions? Right, just,
I got one.
oh yeah,
I
yes,
don't have a question, I just wanted to say that I'm here in support of this Lower Green Historic District. I'm Sheila Spalding and I'm the site manager for Historic New England's Newbury Properties.
very good,
So
thank you
thank
very
you for all
much.
your work.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much, yeah.
There are 28 articles.
Okay, well, we'll
It's a long
get through the.
So I'll be remembering names, so when this passes, and when the Attorney General's office approves the bylaw, and then we're authorized by the bylaw to form a committee, 5, I'll be looking for your names. All it takes is a letter to the select board, with your name and why you wanna do it and why you think you're qualified to do it, and then I guess we'll have to match it up with the suggested backgrounds, I guess, but sometimes getting people in this town to volunteer to be on committees is like pulling teeth.
Yeah,
Okay,
everywhere.
yeah, it's true, it's true.
Yeah, I have a lot of dentures, actually.
Right, okay,
But from the
so,
select board perspective, it's incredible what these people have done, okay, because we've lived through setting them up as a committee to do this work, volunteer work, and I have no idea how many hours have been invested in putting this together, and it's
A lot of research.
And we're all volunteers, so we're not professionals, so we've stumbled around in the dark for a little while and, basically monthly meetings and, getting feedback and trying to get as much input from the people of the Lower Green, around that area, as well as from the town,
sure.
And
I mean, as chair of the select board, I really appreciate people who don't complain about things, the results, they wanna deliver results and solutions. And I see that as very positive, and that's what this town needs, and it helps the select board immensely. Thank you very much.
thank you for those comments.
And 2/3 of the historic commission's here today.
Ah, that's good.
Because we care.
Okay, just before we wind up, I think Mr. Mayor's got an announcement to
Oh,
make.
yeah. You asked a question about signage. Okay. There's gonna be a trail marker installed this Sunday, April 19th, on the Lower Green. And it's to commemorate, it's done by the Lafayette Trail, it's a corporation. It's celebrating Lafayette's legacy in a variety of ways. The trail celebrates a historical marker program. They supply the marker, they supplied the post. And there are 185 recipients across 25 states and Washington DC that have installed these markers. It was funded by the William J. Pomeroy Foundation, and that will be unveiled at 2:00 on April 19th. So if you have.
what does the sign look like? Is it a billboard, backlit?
Neons.
Neon.
Yeah, LED.
Lafayette, L-A-F-A.
LED flashing lights,
Solar powered.
Solar powered.
solar panels facing north, so
Okay, you got one more item,
Okay, so I have,
the last one.
okay, so the final report. Following this hearing, the study committee prepares the final report incorporating recommendations from the planning board, Mass Historic Commission, and the community. And then we send it to the select board, and please remember to come to town meeting on May the 5th, Article 24.
So far.
10:58 at night. And so we need 2/3 of those present, 2/3 of the quorum to vote on it. So let's get it done this year for the United States 250th. Go America, go!
Bring a sandwich to the meeting,
Bring coffee.
coffee.
Gallons of coffee.
Okay, good. Right, declare meeting adjourned.
Okay?
Thanks.
Second.
Thank you.